Jaya Jaya Shri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda Jaya Dvaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Jaya Jaya Shri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda Jaya Dvaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Jaya Jaya Shri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda Jaya Dvaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Jai. So, Namo Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prastaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swamini Namane Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Prachadane Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschacha Deshatarane. So we are reading from Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita, translations and commentaries by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Chapter 2, entitled Lord Chaitanya, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And we are picking up here
64.
64?
Yeah.
Okay, 64. Shunabai shloka kara vichara ekamukya tattvatina tahara prachara. You have to read Mother
Yes. My dear brothers, kindly listen to the explanations of this word and consider its the meaning. The one original entity is known in his three different futures.
Okay, so the verse that he's going to explain is the previous verse, which is Vedanti tat vavidas tatvam yajganam advayam prameti paramatmeti bhagavan iti shabdyate. Learned transcendentalists who know the absolute truth say that it is non-dual knowledge and is called impersonal Brahman, localized Paramatma, and the personality of Godhead. So he's saying there's one original entity known in his three different features. Those three different features are Brahman, Paramatma, and Bhagavan. So now he will explain. Text 65. Advaya Jnana Tattva Vastu Krishnera Swarupa Brahma Atma Bhagavan Tina Tanra Rupa.
Lord Krishna himself is the one undivided absolute truth, the ultimate reality. He manifests himself in three features as Brahman, Paramatma, and Bhagavan. Purport. In the words from Srimad Bhagavatam cited above, Bhagavat 1.2.11, the principal word Bhagavan indicates the personality of Godhead, and Brahman and Paramatma are concomitants deduced from the absolute personality, as the government and its ministers are deductions from the supreme executive head. In other words, the principal truth is exhibited in three different phases. The absolute truth, the personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna, Bhagavan, is also known as Brahman and Paramatma, although all these features are identical.
Okay. Yeah, so Prabhupada uses the analogy in here to explain this about the supreme executive head of the government. So in the USA, that would be the president. So from the president, there are different ministers, and those ministers are like empowered by the president to do their functions. And they also represent the president because they're operating as like limbs of the president. So in one sense, they're non-different because they're acting on the orders as instruments according to the will of president. But at the same time, they're separate. So, yeah, so Brahman and Paramatma expand from Bhagavan, and they perform certain functions according to the desire of Bhagavan Sri Krishna. Text 66. Ishlokera arte tumi haila nirvachana ara eka shuna bhagavatera vachana. Just you don't have it, do you?
I can read it.
Let's see. But wait, we have people online here.
Oh.
Let's see. Aruna, do you have are you in our?
Yes.
Okay.
We're in text 66, right?
Yeah.
Okay. The import of this verse has stopped you from arguing. Now listen to another verse of Srimad Bhagavatam.
So he's saying this is going to stop you from arguing because, in the traditional Vedic, I guess, dialogue, there's often debate between personalists and impersonalists. So the impersonalists are saying the supreme absolute truth is impersonal, all-pervasive, formless energy. And then the personalists are saying, no, supreme absolute truth is a personality, the supreme personality of Godhead, Krishna or Vishnu or whoever they might think it is. And then someone might say, the yogis might say, no, the supreme absolute truth is situated in everyone's heart. We can discover him there by meditation. If we look inward and control the mind and control the senses and stop our breathing, then we can see that personality of Godhead within the heart. So then Krishna's Kaviraj is saying, now all arguments are stopped here. The debate is over because all three of these are the supreme absolute truth. It's not that one is right and the others are wrong, but they're all right. So the Lord has these three features. He's all-pervasive Brahman, he's Paramatma within the heart, and he's also Bhagavan. Yeah. But then the thing is that Bhagavan is the source of the other ones. Because Bhagavan has all the qualities of the other ones, but more. Because he has personality. Okay, text 67. Ete chamsakala pumsam Krishnastu Bhagavan Swayam Indrari Vyakulam Lokam Mridayanti Yuge Yuge. It's nice quoting this verse from Srimad Bhagavatam. So who is that Bhagavan? And this is what this verse says. All these incarnations of Godhead are either plenary portions or parts of the plenary portions of the Purusha avatars. But Krishna is the supreme personality of Godhead himself. In every age, he protects the world through his different features when the world is disturbed by the enemies of Indra. Excuse me, purport. The statement of Srimad Bhagavatam 1.3.28 definitely negates the concept that Sri Krishna is an avatar of Vishnu or Narayan. Lord Sri Krishna is the original personality of Godhead, the supreme cause of all causes. This verse clearly indicates that incarnations of the personality of Godhead, such as Sri Ram, Nrsimha, and Varaha, all undoubtedly belong to the Vishnu group, but all of them are either plenary portions or portions of plenary portions of the original personality of Godhead, Lord Sri Krishna. So, yeah, a lot of people in the Hindu tradition, they think that Krishna is an incarnation of Lord Vishnu, but this verse is saying very clearly that Krishnastu Bhagavan Swayam. Krishna himself is the original supreme Bhagavan, supreme personality of Godhead, and all other incarnations, all other expansions and features originate from him. Okay, text 68. Sabha avatarera kari samanya lakshana Taramadye Krishna Chandrera Karila Ganana. Nikesh, do you happen to have a Caitanya Charitamrita with you? Would you like to
Yes,
read?
I do. Uh, I read page 68, correct?
68, yes, please.
The Bhagavatam describes the symptoms and deeds of the incarnation in general and counts Sri Krishna among them.
Okay, thank you. So let's go on to 69. Tabe sutta gosai mane panabada bhaya yaraye lakshana taha karila nishchaya. Back to you, Adi.
This made Sota Goswami greatly apprehensive. Therefore, he distinguished each incarnation by its specific symptoms.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so Sutta Goswami wasn't, he was a little anxious about the way the Bhagavatam was describing the different incarnations. Yeah, I wonder, does Sutta Goswami speak that verse, 1.3.28? Let me just check here, I'm curious. Hold on, this is going to start getting crazy. I have to go to database. So, Srimad Bhagavatam 1.3.28. Yeah, these verses, yeah, these are spoken by Sutta Goswami. That's very interesting. I never thought about that. How Sutta goes, because the Bhagavatam was first spoken by Shukadev to Parikshit Maharaj. But maybe Shukadev Goswami, when he was talking about the different incarnations, he didn't make it crystal clear that Krishna was the source, the fountainhead of all of them. So then Sutta Goswami was sitting there listening to Shukadev speak, and he's thinking, oh, people could misunderstand. So then when it was his turn to give class, to speak the Srimad Bhagavatam to the sages of Naimisharanya, then he made it very clear that there are all these incarnations, and all of them are either plenary portions or portions of the plenary portions of the Lord, but Krishna is the source of all of them. Yeah.
Sorry, who is listening? Okay.
Sutta Goswami.
So, yes, Sukhdev speaking.
Shukadeva Goswami was speaking to Maharaj Parikshit. When Maharaj Parikshit was cursed, he had 7 days left to live. So then Shukadeva Goswami came to speak to him at the time of death, and he spoke the Srimad Bhagavatam, right? So many people were also listening. Parikshit was not alone. There are many saints and sages from all over the universe, and Sutta Goswami was one of them. So he heard that recitation. Then later, after 7 days, Parikshit Maharaj left this world, went back to Godhead. Shukadev went on his travels, and then everybody dispersed. So then later, at Naimisharanya, a bunch of sages had gathered to perform a sacrifice for the benefit of humanity. And Sutta Goswami happened to arrive there and then they asked him to speak. So then they asked him questions. They asked him 6 questions. And he thought, well, these are the questions that Shukadev addressed when he spoke. So let me just repeat what he said. But then he also added, right? He expanded on certain things. And one of the things that he expanded on and clarified was that out of all the incarnations, Krishna is not just another incarnation. He's the source of all incarnations. So yeah, it's just interesting. Krishna's Kaviraj gives us that perspective that the Bhagavatam describes the symptoms and deeds of the incarnations in general and counts Sri Krishna among them. This made Sutta Goswami greatly apprehensive. Therefore, he distinguished each incarnation by its specific symptoms, and then he said, yeah. So let's continue here. Text 70. Avatara Sabha Purushera Kala Amsha Swayam Bhagavan Krishna Sarva Avatamsa.
All the incarnations of Godhead are plenary portions or parts of the plenary portions of the Purushal avatars. But the primeval Lord is Sri Krishna. He is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the fountainhead of all incarnations.
So Krishna's Kaviraj basically translated that into Bengali. Text 71. Purva Paksha Kahe Tomar Bhalata Vyakyana Paravyama Narayana Swayam Bhagavan. Aruna? $71.
Wow. An opponent may say this is your interpretation, but actually the Supreme Lord is Narayana, who is the transcendental real.
Okay, so there's an opponent. Somebody is objecting. No, that's just your interpretation. Actually, Narayan is the supreme. So, text 72. Tenha asi Krishna rupe karena avatara e arta shloke deki ki ara vichara. Nikesh.
So I read 72 or 73.
72, please.
Sure. He, Narayana, incarnates as Lord Krishna. This is the meaning of the verse as I see it. There is no need for further consideration.
This is my opinion, and no more. That's a little bit close-minded there. Anyways, let's see. Text 73. Are kahe kena kara kuta kanumana shastra virudartha kabunahaya pramana. To such a misguided interpreter, we may reply, why should you suggest such fallacious logic? An interpretation is never accepted as evidence if it opposes the principles of Scripture. All right, now we're getting to the rules of debate here. 74. Anuvadam anuktvatu navideyam udirayat nahyalabdaspadam kinchit kutrachit pratitishtati.
One should not state a
Predicate.
should not state a
Predicate.
predicate before its subject, for it cannot thus stand without proper support. This rhetorical rule appears to be Ekadasi Tattva. 13th counter in the connection with the metaphorical use of words. An unknown subject should not be put before the known subject because the object has no meaning if the subject is not first given.
Okay, we're going to get into a little rhetorical logic here. Text 75. Anuvada nakahiya nakahi videya age anuvada kahi paschad videya.
If I do not state a subject, I do not state a predicate. First I speak the former and then I speak the later.
Okay, text 76. Videya kahi etare ye vastu agyata anuvada kahi tare ye hai agyata. Arjuna? Maybe she went off to work. Nikesh, would you like to read 76?
Sure. The predicate of a sentence is what is unknown to the reader, whereas the subject is what is known to him.
Okay. Yaiche kahi e vipra parama pandita vipra anuvada iha videya panditya. For example, we may say, this vipra is a greatly learned man. In this sentence, the vipra is the subject and the predicate is his erudition. Vipratva vikyata tara panditya agyata hataeva vipra age panditya paschata.
The man's being Vipra is known, but his erudition, because his erudition is unknown. Therefore, the person is identified first and his erudition later.
Okay. Yeah, so he's saying that the Vipra means a Brahmin. So he's saying this Brahmin is greatly learned. If you just say greatly learned, it doesn't make sense, right? We don't know who you're talking about. So you have to say first, this Brahmin here, this Vipra here, he's a greatly learned person. So yeah, saying that the subject has to come first. Text 79. Taiche inha avatara sabahai lagyata kara avatara e vastu avigyata.
In the same way, all these incarnations were known, but whose incarnation they are was unknown.
Okay, text 80. Ete shabde avatarera age anuvada purushera amsa pache videha samvada. Nikesh?
Sure. First, the word iti, these establishes the subject, the incarnation. Then a plenary portion of the Parshua avatars follows as the predicate.
Okay. Yeah, so this is referring to the verse that's quoted back here. Ete chamsa, 67. Ete chamsa kala. So ete means these, and amsa kala means plenary portions or portions of the plenary portion. So that's this. The subject is these incarnations, and the predicate is portions. So he's saying that kind of proves that these incarnations that were just mentioned in the previous many verses of the chapter are the amsha kalas, so the amshas and kalas. So amsha means, plenary portion, and kala means parts of a plenary portion. Okay, text 81. Taiche Krishna avatara bitare hailagyata tanhara vishesha jnana se avigyata. In the same way, when Krishna was first counted among the incarnations, specific knowledge about him was still unknown. Ataeva Krishna Shabda Age Anuvada Swayam Bhagavata Piche Videya Samvada.
Therefore, the first word Krishna appears as the subject, followed by the predicate, describing him as the original personality of Godhead.
Yeah, so if we go back to 67, you see Krishna's too, Bhagavan Swayam. So the subject of that line is Krishna, and the predicate is Bhagavan Swayam.
Yeah.
So the first line says Ete, all these incarnations are Amsas and Kalas. Plenary portions are portions of plenary portions, and Krishna, subject to the sentence is Bhagavan Swayam, himself the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So, all right. Krishna Swayam Bhagavata Iha Haila Shabda Swayam Bhagavanera Krishnatva Haila Bhadya.
This establishes that the Krishna is the original personality of Godhead. The original personality of Godhead is therefore necessarily Krishna.
Okay. Text 84. Krishna Yadi Amsha Haiti Amshi Narayana Tabe Viparita Haita Sutera Vachana. Aruna, are you back? Aruna's
Yes.
back.
Sorry, it
Text
takes
84.
time to learn with. Had Krishna been the plenary person and Narayana the primal lord, the statement of Sutta Goswami would have been reversed.
Yeah, so then it would have said Ete Bhagavan Swayam and Krishna's Sakala Pumsam. But that's not what it said. Narayana Amshiye Swayam Bhagavan Tenya Shri Krishna Aiche Karita Vyakyan Nikesh.
Thus, he would have said, Narayana, the source of all incarnation, is the original personality of Godhead. He has appeared as Sri Krishna.
Brahma Pramada Vipradipsa Karana Patava Harsha Vigya Vyakyena Hi Dosha E Sabha. Mistakes, illusions, cheating, and defective perception do not occur in the sayings of the authoritative sages. Purport. Srimad Bhagavatam has listed the avatars, the plenary expansions of the Purusha, and Lord Krishna appears among them. But the Bhagavatam further explains Lord Krishna's specific position as the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Since Lord Krishna is the original personality of Godhead, reason and argument establish that his position is always supreme. Had Krishna been a plenary expansion of Narayan, the original verse would have been differently composed. Indeed, its order would have been reversed. But there cannot be mistakes, illusion, cheating, or imperfect perception in the words of liberated sages. Therefore, there is no mistake in this statement that Lord Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The Sanskrit statements of Srimad Bhagavatam are all transcendental sounds. Srila Vyasadeva revealed these statements after perfect realization, and therefore they are perfect. For liberated sages like Vyasadeva never commit errors in their rhetorical arrangements. Unless one accepts this fact, there is no use in trying to obtain help from the revealed scriptures. Brahma refers to false knowledge or mistakes, such as accepting rope as a snake or an oyster shell as gold. Pramada refers to inattention or misunderstanding of reality. And vipralipsa is a cheating propensity. Karanapatava refers to imperfectness of the material senses. There are many examples of such imperfection. The eyes cannot see that which is very distant or very small. One cannot even see his own eyelid, which is the closest thing to his eye. And if one is disturbed by a disease like jaundice, he sees everything to be yellow. Similarly, the ears cannot hear distant sounds. Since the personality of Godhead and his plenary portions and self-realized devotees are all transcendentally situated, they cannot be misled by such deficiencies. So, yeah, these are what's given often as the 4 defects of conditioned souls. That we have the tendency to make mistakes. That's Brahma. And then there's tendency mistakes. Oh, pramada means the tendency to be in illusion. Vipralipsa is the cheating propensity. And then Karanapativa is imperfect imperfect senses. So because we have all these 4 defects, then whatever we come up with knowledge from our own sensory perception or our own inference or speculation is going to be imperfect. I mean, I guess there's a chance that we could like stumble upon real knowledge, but we wouldn't know it. We wouldn't know the difference between real knowledge and speculation or imperfect perception. So, but liberated souls like Shukadeva Goswami, Sutta Goswami, they don't have those. They're not conditioned souls, so they don't have the 4 defects of conditioned souls. So we can trust what they write is perfect. Okay, text 87. Virudartha kahatumi kahite kararosha tomara arte avimrishta vide yam sadosha.
You say something contradictory and become angry when this is pointed out. Your explanation has the defeat of a misplaced object. This is the unconsidered adjustment.
Yeah, so this is what conditioned souls do. We say something we mistaken due to our limited perception. We don't quite get it right, but we think it's right. And we think, no, I saw that myself. I have a realization. We become very attached to our perspective. And then if somebody disagrees with it, then we get angry. So yeah, that's how we know we're a conditioned soul. Okay, nothing, yeah, it can't contradict scripture. If we say something that is in line with scripture, then okay, right? But if we say something contradictory to scripture, then it's a good, most likely we're wrong. Text 88. Yanra Bhagavata Haite Anyera Bhagavata Swayam Bhagavan Shabdera Tahate Sata.
Is acceptable to be designated Swayam Bhagavan. All the previous
Text 89. Deepa Haite Yaiche Bahu Deepera Jvalana Mula Eka Deepa Taha Kariye Ganana. Aruna?
When from one candle many others are lit, I consider that one the original. Purport. The Brahma Samhita, chapter 5, verse 46 states that the Vishnu Tattva, or the principle of the absolute personality of Godhead, is like a lamp because the expansions equal their origin in all respects. A burning lamp can light innumerable other lamps, and although they will not be inferior, still the lamp from which the others are lit must be considered the original. Similarly, the Supreme Personality of Godhead expands himself in the plenary forms of the Vishnu Tattva, and although they are equally powerful, the original powerful personality of Godhead is considered the source. This example also explains the appearance of qualitative incarnations like Lord Shiva and Lord Brahma. According to Srila Jiva Goswami, Samvastu Tamojisthanatvat Pajalamaya Suksmadipa Siksha Sthaniyasa Natatha Samyam. The Sambhu Tattva, or the principle of the Lord Shiva, is like a lamp covered with carbon because of his being in charge of the mode of ignorance. The illumination from such a lamp is very minute. Therefore, the power of Lord Shiva cannot compare to that of the Vishnu principle.
Interesting. Yeah, so in the Brahma Samhita is given this verse that Krishna is like the original candle, and from that candle you can light many candles. Like on a birthday cake, sometimes you light one candle and then you pick that one and light the others. So when all the candles are lit, they're giving the same light, right? The flame of all the candles is the same, but still the one candle that you use to light the others, that's like the original candle. So Krishna is like the original candle, and so he expands into the different incarnations, and like Balaram, especially Balaram, Lord Nrsimhadev, and Lord Ramachandra are said to be equally as powerful as Krishna. Some of the other ones are just portions of plenary portions, so they're not so powerful. And then demigods, when we get into the demigods, then they're in different tattva. So, but still they're empowered by the Lord. Their power comes from the Lord, but it's less. So then he gives the example of the lamp covered by carbon. You know how I remember when I was small, we had this gas lamp in the house and it had a glass thing. So you light the lamp, there's a flame, and then you put the glass over it. But if the glass is like a little bit on the side, then it gets all black from the smoke, right? So if that glass thing is totally smoky, then not much light can get through. You can see that there's a light inside, but you can't use it to really light up the room anymore. You just see that it's on, you know? So he says that the Lord Shiva is like that. The Shambhu Tattva, yeah, Shiva Tattva is like a lamp covered with carbon because he's in charge of the mode of ignorance. So because he comes in contact with the modes of material nature, then not that Lord Shiva himself is in the mode of ignorance, but because he interacts with the mode of ignorance, then his potency becomes diminished. So he says the illumination from such a lamp is very minute. Therefore, the power of Lord Shiva cannot compare to that of Vishnu principle or Vishnu Tattva incarnations. So yeah, because the demigods are in contact with the modes of nature, then their power becomes diminished. Text 90. Taichi Saba Avatarera Krishna Se Karana Ara Eka Shloka Shuna Kuvyakya Kandana. Nikesh.
Krishna, in the same way, is the cause of all causes and all incarnations. Please hear another verse to defeat all misinterpretations.
Okay, so now we're going to bring in some more verses here to defeat the opponents. This is the 10 topics of the Bhagavatam verse. Text 91, 92. Acchasarga visargascha stanam poshanam uttaya manvantare shanukata nirodho mukti ashrayaha dashamasya vishuddhyartam navanam iha lakshanam varnayanti mahatmana shutenartena chanjasa. Here in Srimad Bhagavatam, 10 subjects are described. 1. The creation of the ingredients of the cosmos. 2. The creations of Brahma. 3. The maintenance of the creation. 4. Special favor given to the faithful. 5. Impetuses for activity. 6. Prescribed duties for law-abiding men. 7. A description of the incarnations of the Lord. 8. The winding up of the creation. 9. Liberation from gross and subtle material existence. And 10. The ultimate shelter, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The 10th item is the shelter of all the others. To distinguish this ultimate shelter from the other 9 subjects, the Mahajanas have described these 9 directly or indirectly through prayers or direct explanations. Interesting. I was wondering how does this verse support what he's saying here, that Krishna is the source of all incarnations? But the very fact that they're all the 9 cantos and one of all the 9 other topics, and one of those topics is a description of the incarnations, right? And then the 10th topic is separate from the description of the incarnations, and the 10th topic is the ultimate shelter, right? The summum bonum, the what's it say here? Ashraya, the shelter of all of them is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and that 10th topic is Krishna. Is basically the 10th canto of Krishna, all of his names, qualities, forms, pastimes. Purport. These verses from Srimad Bhagavatam 2.10, 1-2 list the 10 subject matters dealt with in the text of the Bhagavatam. Of these, the 10th is the substance, and the other 9 are categories derived from the substance. These 10 subjects are listed as follows. 1. Sarga, the first creation by Vishnu, the bringing forth of the 5 gross material elements, the 5 objects of sense perception, the 10 senses, the mind, the intelligence, the false ego, and the total material energy or universal form. 2. Visarga, the secondary creation or the work of Brahma in producing the moving and unmoving bodies in the universe, Brahmanda. 3. Sthana, the maintenance of the universe by the personality of Godhead Vishnu. Vishnu's function is more important and his glory greater than Brahma's and Lord Shiva's, for although Brahma is the creator and Lord Shiva the destroyer, Vishnu is the maintainer. 4. Poshana, special care and protection for devotees by the Lord. As a king maintains his kingdom and subjects, but then nevertheless gives special attention to the members of his family, so the personality of Godhead gives special care to his devotees, who are souls completely surrendered to him. Uti, the urge for creation, or initiative power, that is the cause of all inventions, according to the necessities of time, space, and objects. 6. Manvantara, the periods controlled by the Manus, who teach regulated principles for living beings who desire to achieve perfection in human life. The rules of Manu, as described in the Manu Samhita, guide the way to such perfection. Ishanu Kata, scriptural information regarding the personality of Godhead, his incarnations on earth, and the activities of his devotees. Scriptures dealing with these subjects are essential for progressive human life. So that Ishanu Kata topic is where the different incarnations are listed. Nirodha, the winding up of all energies employed in creation. Such potencies are emanations from the personality of Godhead, who eternally lies in the Karana ocean. The cosmic creations manifested with his breath are again dissolved in due course. So the first two topics, Sarga and Visarga, are about creation, and then Nirodha is the annihilation. Everything is created, and then everything becomes again dissolved, reabsorbed into the Lord. 9. Mukti, liberation of the conditioned souls encaged by the gross and subtle coverings of body and mind. When freed from all material affection, the soul, giving up the gross and subtle material bodies, can attain the spiritual sky in his original spiritual body and engage in transcendental loving service to the Lord in Vaikuntha Loka or Krishna Loka. When the soul is situated in his original constitutional position of existence, he is said to be liberated. It is possible to engage in transcendental loving service to the Lord and become Jivan Mukta, a liberated soul, even while in the material body. So Prabhupada gives this definition of liberation, that you get your original spiritual body. In other words, you have your original spiritual form. And in that body, you engage in transcendental loving service to the Lord in one of the spiritual planets, either Vaikuntha or Goloka Vrindavan. So he's not even considering impersonal mukti to be mukti at all, right? And then there's that verse from the 10th canto that says that these impersonalists who get free from the cycle of birth and death and go to the Brahmajyoti, he said they think that they're liberated, but they're not. He says mukti manina, only in their mind they're liberated. They're not actually liberated because they're not serving the Lord. So as long as you don't have shelter at the lotus feet of the Lord under the guidance of one of his eternal associates and are engaged in service, then you're going to end up going back to the material world. So that's what happens. They fall down. But on the other hand, a devotee who is engaged 100% in the service of the Lord, even in this world, is liberated. So you can be liberated in this world by being, a pure devotee. But even in the spiritual sky, you're not liberated if you're not a devotee serving Krishna. So liberation it necessitates the service of the Lord.
Service is good.
Huh?
Service is more important.
But yeah, it's the most important. Because that's who we are. We are. That's Jivera Swarupahoy, Krishna and Nityadas. We are constitutionally eternal servants of Krishna. So if we're not serving Krishna, we're not going to be able to last because we're not being who we are. We can only maintain that false life for so long, false existence.
Yeah, we need to serve somebody.
Yeah. Okay.
Dog or cat.
Exactly.
Yeah.
In Brahman, there's nothing to do, no one to serve. 10. So this is the last one. Ashraya. The transcendent, the summum bonum, from whom everything emanates, upon whom everything rests, and in whom everything merges after annihilation. He is the source and support of all. The Ashraya is also called the Supreme Brahman, as in the Vedanta Sutra, Atato Brahmajigyasa Janmadyasya Yataha. Srimad Bhagavatam especially describes this Supreme Brahman as the Ashraya. Sri Krishna is this Ashraya, and therefore the greatest necessity of life is to study the science of Krishna. Srimad Bhagavatam accepts Sri Krishna as the shelter of all manifestations because Lord Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, is the ultimate source of everything, supreme goal of all. Two different principles are to be considered herein, namely Ashraya, the object providing shelter, and Ashrita, the dependence requiring shelter. The Ashrita exists under the original principle, the Ashraya. The Ashrita exist under the original principle, the Ashraya. The first 9 categories described in the first 9 cantos of Srimad Bhagavatam, from creation to liberation, including the Purusha avatars, the incarnations, the marginal energy or living entities, and the external energy or material world, are all Ashrita. The prayers of Srimad Bhagavatam, however, aim for the Ashraya Tattva, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna. The great souls expert in describing Srimad Bhagavatam have very diligently delineated the other 9 categories, sometimes by direct narrations and sometimes by indirect narrations such as stories. The real purpose of doing this is to know perfectly the absolute transcendence, Sri Krishna, for the entire creation, both material and spiritual, rests on the body of Sri Krishna. So Krishna is the Ashraya Tattva. He's the shelter, the supreme shelter. And all the other incarnations, us, the living entities, the external energy, the material world, the Purusha avatars, everything else is Ashrita, or dependent on the Ashraya. So that's the difference between Krishna and everything else. Okay, text 93. Ashraya janite kahi enava padartha enavera utpati hetu se ashrayartha.
To know distinctly the ultimate shelter of everything, that be I have described the other 9 categories. The cause of the appearance, the cause for the appearance of these 9 is rightly called their shelter.
94. Krishna eka sarvashraya, Krishna sarvadama, Krishnera sarire sarva vishvera vishrama. This is the Krishna verse.
The personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna, is the shelter and abode of everything. All the universes rest in his body.
Right. Yeah, so the word for word.
Beautiful.
Krishna eka sarva ashraya. Krishna alone, right? Eka means one. Krishna alone is the sarva ashraya, the shelter of all, shelter of everything and everyone. Krishna sarva dharma. Krishna is the abode of all. In other words, everybody lives in Krishna because we all live either in the material world or the spiritual world, with it, which are expansions of Krishna's energies. And then Krishnera Sharire Sarva Vishvera Vishrama. So within, in the body of Krishna, Sharira, Krishnera Sharira, in Krishna's body, Sarva Vishvera Vishrama, all the universes rest. Dashame Dashamam Lakshyam Ashritashraya Vigraham Shri Krishnakyam Param Dhamma Jagadama Namami Tat. Who's reading? Aruna.
I can read. The 10th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam reveals the 10th object, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is the shelter of all surrendered souls. He is known as Sri Krishna, and he is the ultimate source of all universes. Let me offer my obeisances unto him. Purport. These quotations come from Sridhar Swami commentary on the first verse of the 10th canto, chapter 1 of Srimad Bhagavatam.
Lord Caitanya really loved Sridhar Swami's commentary. He said that Sridhar Swami is like the prominent, like the really highly authoritative commentator on Srimad Bhagavatam. And if any commentary disagrees with that of Sridhar Swami, then it should be thrown away. It has to agree, it has to be aligned with Sridhar Swami's commentary. And something very beautiful about Sridhar Swami's commentary is that he writes it in shlokas. He doesn't write like in prose, like Prabhupada's purports are like sentences, paragraphs. But see, this is a Dashame Dashamam Lakshyam Ashritashraya Vigraham Shri Krishna Kyam Param Dhamma Jagat Dhamma Namami. His whole commentary is like that. Verses, shlokas. So
So question.
yeah.
Seems
Not sure. I've never heard. We have to research that one. Yeah, and he says, so Sridhar Swami says the same exact thing that, I mean, it seems like Krishnadas Kaviraj is referring to this verse when he's, or Prabhupada in the purport is referring to this verse when he's breaking down the things, the Lord and everything else as the Ashraya and the Ashrita, because that's the words that Sridhar Swami uses. In the second line, he says, Ashrita Ashraya Vigraham. That Krishna is he's the shelter of all surrendered souls. He's the shelter of all the Ashritas. He's the shelter. Ashrita means the sheltered, right? So Krishna is the shelter of the sheltered. And the rest of us are all sheltered. Okay. Yeah.
Here it says that Sridhar Swami, who wrote the Bhagavad Deepika commentary on the Srimad Bhagavatam, belonged to the Rudra Vaishnava Sampradaya, also known as Vaishnava Vishnu Swami lineage.
Okay, so he was in another, because we're in the Brahma Madhva and he's in the Rudra Vishnu Swami. But it's definitely one of the 4 authorized Vaishnava Sampradayas. And this is Sridhar's commentary, becomes Sridhar Swami's commentaries on the first 10th canto, chapter 1, verse 1. So just when we're launching into Krishna's pastimes, he's establishing who is Krishna. He's the Ashrita Ashraya Vigraham. And he's the Param Dhamma, Jagat Dhamma. And he's offering his obeisances unto that person. He's saying that this is the topic. Yeah, he's saying Dashame Dashamam Lakshyam. This is what we're going, he says, now we're going to see here in this, the subject matter of this 10th canto is Krishna, the shelter of the sheltered, and the supreme abode, the abode of all the universes, and his name is Sri Krishna. Sri Krishna Akyam. He's known as Lord Sri Krishna. I offer my obeisances to him. Very nice, right? Okay, text 96. Krishnara Swarupa Ara Shakti Traya Jnana Yanrahaya Tanranahi Krishneti Agyana. One who knows the real feature of Sri Krishna and his 3 different energies cannot remain ignorant about him. Purport. Srila Jiva Goswami states in his Bhagavat Sandarbha 16 that by his potencies, which act in natural sequences beyond the scope of the speculative human mind, the supreme transcendence, the summum bonum, eternally and simultaneously exists in 4 transcendental features: his personality, his impersonal effulgence, particles of his potency, the living beings, and the principal cause of all causes. The supreme whole is compared to the sun, which also exists in 4 features, namely the personality of the sun god, the glare of his glowing sphere, the sun rays inside the sun planet, and the sun's reflections in many other objects. The ambition to corroborate the existence of the transcendental absolute truth by limited conjectural endeavors cannot be fulfilled. The ambition to corroborate. Because he is beyond the scope of our limited speculative minds. So if we have an ambition to try to corroborate the existence, in other words, to explain the Lord's existence by our limited conjecture, by just trying to speculate about him, is not going to work. Basically saying you can't understand the Lord by your limited mental power, because he's beyond the scope of our limited speculative minds. It's just very interesting the way Prabhupada said it. In an honest search for truth, we must admit that his powers are inconceivable to our tiny brains. The exploration of space has demanded the work of the greatest scientists of the world, yet there are countless problems regarding even fundamental knowledge of the material creation that bewilder scientists who confront them. He's saying that the most intelligent people in this world are putting their brains together and can't even understand this material world, what to speak of what's beyond this material world. Such material knowledge is far removed from the spiritual nature, and therefore acts and arrangements of the absolute truth are beyond all doubts inconceivable. So there's no way that we can understand the absolute transcendence, the Lord, and by our limited material intelligence. The primary potencies of the absolute truth are mentioned to be three: internal, external, and marginal. By the acts of his internal potency, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, in his original form, exhibits the spiritual cosmic manifestation known as the Vaikuntha Lokas, which exists eternally, even after the destruction of the material cosmic manifestation. By his marginal potency, the Lord expands himself as living beings who are part of him, just as the sun distributes its rays in all directions. By his external potency, the Lord manifests the material creation, just as the sun, with its rays, creates fog. The material creation is but a perverse reflection of the eternal Vaikuntha nature. These three energies of the absolute truth are also described in the Vishnu Purana, where it is said that the living being is equal in quality to the internal potency, whereas the external potency is indirectly controlled by the chief cause of all causes. Maya, the illusory energy, misleads a living being, as fog misleads a pedestrian by blocking off the light of the sun. Yeah, he's comparing the Lord's energies to the sun, right? It says that this material world is created by the external energy in the same way that the sun by its rays creates the fog. And this external energy bewilders the living entities, right? Maya bewilders all of us in the same way that fog bewilders somebody who's driving down the road in the fog. It says, fog misleads a pedestrian by blocking off the light of the sun. Although the potency of Maya is inferior in quality to the marginal potency, which consists of the living beings who are part and parcel of the Lord, it nevertheless has the power to control the living beings, just as fog can block the actions of a certain portion of the sun's rays, although it cannot cover the sun. Yeah, so we are actually we are marginal potency, but we're, as souls, we are superior than the inferior material nature. But because we're so small, then we get covered by it anyway. Just like the sun is more powerful than the fog, but the rays of the sun, when they're separated from the sun, they can be covered by the fog because they've distanced themselves.
Yeah.
So we distance ourselves from Krishna, and because we're far away from Krishna here, then Maya covers us over. The living beings covered by the illusory energy evolve in different species of life, with bodies ranging from that of an insignificant ant to that of Brahma, the constructor of the cosmos. The Pradhan, the chief cause of all causes in the impersonal vision, is none other than the Supreme Lord, whom one can see face to face in the internal potency. He takes the material all-pervasive form by his inconceivable power. Interesting. I never thought of the Pradhan as being none other than the Supreme Lord. The Pradhan is like the potential, I guess it's an energy, it's the potential energy which when Lord Vishnu, Mahavishnu glances on it, it becomes activated and becomes the Mahatattva, and from that Mahatattva, it differentiates into all the different elements that make up kind of the primordial soup, or all the ingredients that the material universes are created from. So yeah, that's the Lord's energy. He takes the material all-pervasive form by his inconceivable power. Although all three potencies, namely internal, external, and marginal, are essentially one in the ultimate issue, they are different in action, like electrical energy, which can produce both heat and cold under different conditions. The external and marginal potencies are so called under various conditions, but in the original internal potencies, there are no such conditions, nor is it possible for the conditions of the external potency to exist in the marginal, or vice versa. One who is able to understand the intricacies of all these energies of the Supreme Lord can no longer remain an empiric impersonalist under the influence of a poor fund of knowledge. So if we understand how all these different things are different energies of Krishna, then we're not going to be an impersonalist, because we'll just understand that, the all-pervasive Brahman feature, the Brahmajyoti, all these, they're all just energies of the Lord. So why would you just worship the energies of the Lord when you can worship the Lord? Right? because the Lord includes his energies, but the energies don't necessarily include the Lord.
Yes.
Like if you have the sun, you also have the sun rays. But
Yes.
if all you have is some sun rays coming through your window, you don't have the sun. Text 97. Krishnara Swarupera Haya Shadvida Vilasa Prabhava Vaibhava Rupe Dvivida Prakasha.
The personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna, enjoys himself in 6 primary expansion. His 2 manifestations are Prabhava and Vaibhava. Purport. Now the author of Chaitanya Charitamrita turns to a description of the personality of Godhead in his innumerable expansions. The Lord primarily expands himself in 2 categories, namely Prabhava and Vaibhava. The Prabhava forms are fully potent like Sri Krishna, and the Vaibhava forms are partially potent. The Prabhava forms are manifested in relation with the potencies, but the Vaibhava forms are manifested in relation with excellence. The potent Prabhava manifestations are also 2 varieties, temporary and eternal. The Mohini, Hamsa, Shukla forms are manifested only temporarily. In terms of particular age, other Prabhavas who are not very famous according to the material estimation are Dhanvantari, Rasabha, Vyasa, Dattatreya, Kapila. Among the Vaibhava Prakasha forms are Korma, Macha, Naranarayana, Varaha, Hayagreva, Sri Garbha,
Prishnigarbha.
Krishna Garbha, Baladeva, Yajna, Vibhu, Satyasena, Hari, Vaikuntanada, Ajita, Vamana, Sarva Bhuma,
Rishabha.
Rushabha, Vivasena, Dharmasetu, Sudama, Yogeswara, Brunda,
Brihad Banu.
Brahad Banu.
A lot of names there.
Yeah.
So yeah, different expansions. So 2 categories of Prabhav and Vaibhav.
Vaibhava means Vilasa?
No, because Vilasa, there was Prakash and Vilas, right? So the Vilas were his pastime expansions, or they're the ones that they're like Adi-lila Krishna? I can't remember.
Vilas are the partial ones. Like
The ones who don't look like him.
yeah.
Okay, and Prakash were the ones that look exactly like him.
Like Krishna.
So this is a different thing. This is
This is
Prabhav and Vaibhav. So he says that the Prabhav ones are in relation with potencies, and the Vaibhav are in relation with excellences.
That's
And-
a topic.
That's me. Like,
Yeah, so these are all, like all these incarnations here that are listed are partial. They're not like full expansions. And he says that Mohini Hamsa, these ones are not even eternal. Like Mohini Morti, she doesn't exist like eternally. Like there's no like Vaikuntha planet in the spiritual world where Mohini Morti presides over, like the other most Vishnu expansions. She just appears for the pastime, turn to bewilder the demons, and then she disappears. Yeah, exactly. So then these other ones, yeah, they exist eternally, but he says they're not very famous. They're lesser known. They're just partial expansions. Okay. 98. Amsha Shaktya Vesharupe Dvivida Vatara Balya Poganda Dharma Duita Prakara. Did we skip you, Nikesh?
Yes, I can go through 98. His incarnation are of 2 kinds, namely partial and empowered. He appears in 2 ages, childhood and boyhood.
Go ahead and read the purport. You have it there?
I do not.
That verse has a purport. You have to open up the. If you're using your phone, you have to tap on the verse, and then it opens.
Sure.
Or click on the. Okay, I'll just read the purport. The Vilas forms. You got it?
I got it.
Okay, go ahead
the,
then.
Sure. The Vilasa forms are 6 in number. Incarnation are of 2 varieties, namely Satyavesa, empowered, and Amsavesa, partial. These incarnations also come within the category of Prabhava and Vaibhava manifestation. Childhood and boyhood are 2 special features of the personality of Godhead Sri Krishna, but his permanent feature is his eternal form as an youth. The original personality of Godhead Sri Krishna is always worshipped in his eternal adolescent form.
Thank you. Yeah, so these Vilas forms, the ones which look different from Krishna, there's 6 different kinds of them. So those are the Lila avatars who descend to perform pastimes, right? Like Matsya, Kurma, Varaha, Nrsimha. And then there are the Purusha avatars, like Karnadakshay Vishnu, Kshirodakshay Vishnu, and Garbhodakshay Vishnu. Then there are the Manvantara avatars, the Manus, who preside over the universe for a certain amount of time. Then there are the
Qualitative incarnations.
the Guna avatars, yeah. So those are Brahma, Vishnu, and Shiva, who look after the 3 modes of material nature. And then there are the Shakti Avesha avatars, and who are the empowered jivas. So Prabhupada mentions them that there's Shakti Avesh empowered and Amsha Avesh partial. So the 5, the Shakti Avesh are in a different category than the other 5, because the other 5 are all Vishnu Tattva and partial expansions of Vishnu, whereas the Shakti Avesh are Jiva Tattva, empowered jivas. And then among these incarnations, some of them are Prabhav and some of them are Vaibhav. So they don't all have the same potencies. Some have more potencies, some have less potencies. And so, but childhood and boyhood, as you mentioned here, are only for Krishna. Childhood and boyhood are 2 special features of the personality of Godhead Sri Krishna. But in the spiritual world, he's always like sweet 16, an adolescent youth. Oh, we're already at 5:07. Okay, we better stop here. We stop. Okay, we're gonna start on tomorrow at 99. Alrighty, so this was a little complex today, right? Oh, but we had the nice arguments. We had a nice debate about whether Krishna is an expansion of Vishnu or Vishnu is an expansion of Krishna. And we had a good Shastric answer with logic and reasoning and Shastric references and commentaries. Very good. Krishnadas Kaviraj did a good job there convincing us. Yes.
But they won't describe that.
But yeah, Ram had. So Krishna and Ram.
No,
I mean, you could say Matsya also, right? Like he's a baby fish and then he goes from a jar to a fishbowl to a bucket to a tank, and finally he's in the ocean.
But then everyone. Parshuram. Parshuram is also in a human body, so he will also be like child and then young.
Yeah.
And old.
They grow up, but the thing is that Krishna is the only one who actually manifests his powers of God, even as a baby. You don't see like Lord Ramachandra in his childhood doing like miraculous feats. He's just playing, flying kites, hanging out with his brothers, going to school. Whereas Krishna, even in the lap of his mother, he's killing Putana. He's killing Trinavarta.
This baby kills the wolf.
Yeah. So Krishna is like extra special because he's God from beginning to end of his manifest Leela.
Okay, Mataji.
All right,
Okay.
let me see if anything out here on YouTube. Oops. Oh, Dustin.
Dustin,
Hare Krishna. Here's Dustin's comment. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Perfect.
He's there.
Oh, I have an atheist here from Europe named Target Europe Atheist saying, so late, what are you doing? Well, it's not late here. I'm in the USA. We're in a different time zone. What are you doing up so late over there in Europe? Oh, this is the right time for chanting. Nice. You go ahead and do your japa, and I'll do mine when it's Brahma Muhurta here in Dallas, Texas. Thank you for the good advice. Okay. You don't sound like an atheist, by the way. Target Europe. Okay, we will conclude here. Thank you all for joining, and Nikesh, feel free to join whenever you want. It was nice having you today.
Sure, I'll try my best. Thank you so much. Have a good one.
Hare Krishna.
Hare
So same time, same place tomorrow.
Sure.
Srila Prabhupada.